A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Gargi Tariyal, a PhD student under the supervision of Thomas and Xeric. And today I would like to present a part of my research entitled as Local or Regional Factors Influencing Historical Forest Fires in Fennoscandia. So to give you a brief background about why fires are important, fire has been the most important natural disturbance agent in the European boreal forest. It creates structural complexity and enhances biodiversity. And since the early 20th century, wildfires have disappeared here in these forests. So concisely, the history of forest fires in Fennoscandia have been shaped by human beings, climate change, and vegetation types. And these two parameters, climate change and human influence, are the most addressed ones. But the vegetation impact is an important parameter, and it has not been understood in depth yet. So I'm going to look more into this parameter. There are different kinds of fires according to the severity. There are crown fires, and they engulf most of the vegetation, which leaves no fire scars, and they are of high intensity. Then there are surface fires, which, as the name suggests, are of low intensity, and with them we can get information about multiple fires that have occurred in the past. The aim of the study is to analyze the role of vegetation characteristics for fire occurrence in the Fennoscandian boreal forest. So these are the study sites in Finland, and you can see that here it's one of the study sites, which is Ulvinsalo Strict Nature Reserve in eastern Finland, and the other one is in central Finland, which is Salamanperä Strict Nature Reserve. Both these nature reserves were formed in the year 1956, and we have selected them to minimize human influence on the forest fires. And the topography of Salamanperä is relatively flat, and it has lots of peatlands and a mosaic of minerals soil forest. And Ulvinsalo is, it has some hills like ranging up to 300 meters above sea level, and it is also a mosaic of peatlands, lakes, and mineral soil. These are the stands from Salamanperä, and this is how this shows like different site types, and pine is the dominant species here. And these are the stands from Ulvinsalo, and it shows the site type here, and spruce is the most dominant species in this study area. So for the material and methods, we had some existing dendrochronological data set. However, we also collected the data in the field, and in total, 42 stands from Salamanperä were sampled and 73 stands from Ulvinsalo. So half of the data was collected in the field last summer. Further, we did the sample preparation, scanned the samples, we measured the ring widths, fire scar dating, and we developed a fire chronology, which gave us the fire year as an output. So with the fire year, we finally constructed the past fires and studied the fire regime for the past 321 years for these two reserves. This is how it looks when we took a pine increment core sample from a scarred pine, and this is how the sample looks like, and here you can see a fire scar is visible. Further, we scanned and mounted them and counted the rings, and that's how we got the fire scar sample. So we did survival analysis, and we used it in order to create a model, and which we further used to quantify the different landscape components, for example, different site types and classes of topographic wetness index. And topographic wetness index is used as a proxy for soil moisture. And all this analysis has been done using RStudio. So as results, we calculated the fire cycle, which is defined as the time required to burn an area equal in size to the studied area. And we compared the fire cycle for both the reserves, which we calculated as 136 years for Salamanperä Strict Nature Reserve and 232 years for Ulvinsalo Nature Reserve. So Salamanperä, which is a pine-dominant steady area, has a shorter fire cycle as compared to Ulvinsalo, which is a spruce-dominated steady area. Then we have this graph that shows the proportionate burnt area in Salamanperä. And here on the y-axis, you can see the burnt area percentage, and it starts from the year 1700 till 2021. So in this graph, you can see there's a pattern of very small fires and few big fires. So for example, in the year 1780s, about 30% of the whole study area in Salamanperä was burnt. And this peak that we see here in the late 1700s may be due to increased human influence in those times. Then similarly, we have the graph for Ulvinsalo also, and here also you can see many small fires, which are mainly surface fires, and then we have the peak in the late 1700s due to increased human influence. Okay, so now we have a graph which is a cumulative hazard curve. It is based on the model, Cox proportional hazard model, and here in the y-axis we have expected number of fires, and it starts from the year 1600 till 2021. And this graph represents the cumulative hazard curve for different site types in both our areas. And here you can see the black line in the curve represents the Xeric site type, that is the dry site type in Salamanperä, which has the highest number of expected number of fires out of both the reserves. And then the highest expected number of fires were more in mesic sites, like the moisture-rich sites type in Salamanperä, then in the dry site type in Ulvinsalo, and lastly, the least number of expected number of fires have been in the moisture-rich site in Ulvinsalo. So this shows that the Xeric, the dry site type in Salamanperä, burns the most. And yeah, so with this we can conclude that the Xerics or the dry site types have higher probability for occurrence of fire as compared to the moisture-rich site types. And also the stands in Salamanperä Reserve were more likely to burn than Ulvinsalo Reserve. And the research is still ongoing, so we look forward to exploring the landscape level differences among the two different reserves, and we look more into the differences in landscape structure and the historical evidences, for example, in Ulvinsalo slash and burn bush factories, and for example, in Salamanperä, it was tar production. So we will still explore into it, and that was it. Thank you.
Is there any question in the room? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. How did you estimate the burn area? Is it from the number of fires there in each site, or for your first figure in the reserve?
You mean like the burnt area percentage?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are from the fire years that we have got after from the data.
Okay, so by the number of fire scales you found in each site.
Yes.
Okay.
We have time for another question. Thank you, Gargi.